Hi everybody, Carla Morrow here with Dragon Lady Art Studios and episode 2 of Tea Time with Dragons. Today's tea is a celestial seasoning blend called Country Time Peach. I like the Sleepy Time Peach a little better. It has a little bit more of a mellower taste, but drinking Sleepy Time tea at 9:30 in the morning is probably not a good idea when at this point all I really want to do is go back to bed anyway. So, the drawing that I'm working on today is another piece for Inktober. It's going to be done in the same sepia markers. It's a little butterfly dragon, which you'll be able to see more here in a minute. It's for the, it's a rough sketch and a rough idea for art order. They're doing a call for entries for a tiny dragons book. So I actually Googled the world's tiniest butterfly, and this is the one that came up sitting on a blade of grass. I wasn't sure if I was going to go with this concept for the book initially. I've never actually done a submission process like this before, so I'm not going to lie, I'm a little nervous about it, but I do think I'm going to go ahead and do this one as a full painting. I like the setup, I like the idea, and I like the cute little face on the dragon. It's very, very adorable. So today's episode, I'm going to ramble on about one of the two questions I get asked most often, and that is, what is your inspiration? Question number 2 being, why dragons? Which I will get into that probably a little bit into this episode, but I will really touch on it in the next episode. A lot of people want a nice wrapped up answer with a bow on top about where artists in general get their inspiration from, and honestly guys, there isn't one. If you've been an artist for a very long time, or you've been a creative for a long time, or maybe not, you're inspired all the time by everything. I am inspired by other artists, I am inspired by nature photographs, I am inspired by Hubble photographs. Pretty much anything that comes into my brain can be distilled down into inspiration for something. I tend to work in groupings or stories. I really like opposites. I like light versus dark. I like male versus female. I like all those kinds of things. I like putting dragons in interesting places where they normally don't go, such as the butterfly dragons, such as, you know, I just did a piece with narwhals. I just did, you know, I've done them as gods and goddesses, of spirit animals, of animals of the forest, of guardians, of things like that. Pretty much anything and everything I can put a dragon into, and that's very inspiring to me. My work is leaning more towards, I don't want to quite say a spiritual direction, because that's not quite what I'm going for, but it is. I'm definitely big into empowerment. I'm definitely big into trying to paint dragons that make people happy when they look at them. That's a big deal. I love people watching as they walk up to my booth and their entire faces light up. I mean, there is not a better feeling in the world than somebody who gets excited and really gets the work. I've had people, you know, break into tears in my booth before, and it's such a humbling and amazing experience that I would never, ever give it up for the world. But, so inspiration is pretty much everywhere. I've been into fantasy since I was a young child. My favorite movie growing up was The Last Unicorn. That was the big one that made me realize that fantasy was viable, and that this was a thing, and it was out there, and that people liked it. I don't remember the first time I saw Last Unicorn. I was very, very, very young, but I do remember being 8, 9, 10, 14, 18, 20, you know, 30, watching it over and over and over again. I have the movie memorized. I've read the book several times. The book is fabulous. I've met Peter S. Beagle. He's an amazing person. And that was the trigger that made me realize that I loved fantasy. Now, I was born in the early 80s, and I grew up in school in the 90s where fantasy still was not cool. I played a lot of D&D during lunches. I read a lot of fantasy novels. There was a small group of us. I wasn't really picked on much about it, but I was an introvert, so I was never in anybody's face about it either. I pretty much stuck to the libraries or the theater rooms or the art rooms in a dark corner, not saying anything to anybody, reading or drawing or working on my D&D characters, things like that. All of those things are incredibly inspirational. So inspiration never ever comes from one place. It comes from a lifetime of collected memories and collected bits and pieces from other things that you like. Some artists are inspired by movies or colors or anything else that might happen to be around them. most of us seek out inspiration actively. We have our favorite things that we go after, or we surround ourselves with inspiration. I have 3 inspirational shelves in my studio that house things from different artists, from games that I like to play. I have a growing Pops figure collection. I have puppets. I love puppets. I also have big butterfly plates, collectible plates on my walls, and I've got art books and books from other artists that I like. So there's a term called filling the well, and a lot of us are constantly trying to fill that well. If you get kind of an artist block, you're either overwhelmed with ideas or you just haven't been filling the well. So we never know when an idea is going to spark or where it's going to come from, but you constantly have to feed those little snippets into your brain all the time. Before I do a painting, I do a Google search, an image search, and pretty much just look at the screen, and anything and everything will be input for me. So it's a constantly evolving thing, and it's something that we constantly have to work on and work towards. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I didn't ramble too terribly much. I'm still getting comfortable with this, so it's happening. But thank you guys very much, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. You guys have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.